Go to whirlwindgolf.com and click on Whirlwind Plus to learn about the best golf membership in Arizona. Here's an email from General Mike of the Unplugged Army. At the Whirlwind Golf Club free tournament yesterday, I had a free 9-hole round and every player received a bucket hat towel, sunblock, after sun spray, plus drink and raffle tickets. After the round, Civlik had barbecue sandwiches, chips, and dessert. Since I brought my family to golf with us, I think that one event added up to 75% of the total cost of my Whirlwind Plus membership for the whole year. And we still have 2 more 2-person scrambles in the next 4 months. And that doesn't even take into account the prizes, the discounts you get with the LPGA Ford Championship, and always 15% off the Pro Shop and Civlik. No matter where you live in the Valley, if you love golf, go to whirlwindgolf.com and feel the wind.
Thanks for listening, Unplugged Army. I'm Louis Unga, General Manager at Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. We're proud to present Doug Franz Unplugged.
Another vacation show, if you don't mind. I'll explain why later. Here's your 4-minute offense for May 27th. Diamondbacks a winner 7-5 in San Francisco. Good starting pitching, not as great bullpen. Eduardo Rodriguez, 6 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. That was really good. But then Ginkel, Murillo, and Sewald all pitched an inning and all gave up a run, but the offense kept rolling, and therefore the Diamondbacks won. Gabby Moreno went 1 for 2 with a walk and 2 RBIs. Marte went 1 for 5, but that one was a 2-run home run that almost went to the Coca-Cola bottle and glove in left field as he crushed it that hard, 114 miles an hour. Vargas went 1 for 4. He had 2 groundouts, however, that led to RBIs. So now the Diamondbacks, 4.5 games back of the Dodgers in 3rd place. There are 3 wild card teams, and the Diamondbacks are number 2, in which they are a half game up on St. Louis and only a game back of San Diego of being the best wild card team. Today, go for the sweep in San Francisco. Michael Soroka takes the hill for the D-backs. He's 6-2, 3.27 ERA. Trevor McDonald goes for the Giants. He's 2-1 with a 4.76 ERA. McDonald will throw the first pitch at 12:45. Cardinals, couple pieces of news. Number 1, according to Jordan Schultz, a longtime football reporter, he says that plenty of teams are calling about Josh Sweat, thinking Sweat wants out of Arizona, but no real rumor on the Cardinals listening very well. Jacoby Brissett still in the holdout. Latest update, Josh Weinfuss, ESPN, claims the 2 sides are extremely far apart in a new deal, and the Supreme Court did not rule against Brian Flores in his discrimination lawsuit against 3 teams in the NFL. That combines with the Cardinals because there's one part of that lawsuit that includes Steve Wilkes in his firing after being the head coach of the Cardinals after just 1 season. Sad news for Arizona State fans. A legend is gone. Bob Horner, who might be the first and only major leaguer to be drafted, skipped the minors, called up to the major leagues, and then hit a home run in his debut against a Hall of Famer. Bob Horner homered against Bert Blyleven after being drafted number 1 overall and receiving the first ever college baseball Golden Spikes Award in 1978, coming out of Arizona State. He's gone at the age of 68. Other Major League Baseball news. The Yankees did something their offense has never done before, which is not often said. They beat the Royals 15-1. Every single starter, 1 through 9, all had at least 2 hits in the game. They won that big. Pittsburgh won big as well, 12-1. Why does that matter? They beat the Cubs, who have now lost 10 straight. Brendan Sorsby originally went to Indiana, transferred to Cincinnati, and then is now a member of the Texas Tech Red Raiders and supposed to lead them to a championship in the Big 12, has been suspended and had his request for eligibility denied by the NCAA. He is appealing, and he is suing the NCAA as well. NHL. Colorado is out in only 4 games. Vegas swept them 2-1 last night. Goalie Carter Hart had 20 saves on the 21 Colorado shots. Now it's Game 4 in the Eastern Conference Finals. Carolina at Montreal. Face off in Canada at 5 o'clock. Canes lead that series 2-1. NBA, you've got a great thing for OKC, but a boring game for us, in which there was a gluttony of 70 free throws and 31 turnovers. And yet OKC comes away a winner, 127-114. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 32 points, 9 assists, but he also had 6 turnovers. Combine that with Caruso having 22 points and 6 assists off the bench, and that's how they were able to come away with the victory. And finally, oh boy, this meet Sean Mikamiski. Yeah, I think I got that right. Mikamiski. This is a little weird. He calls police and reports his car stolen. However, police are a little suspicious, but he calls while walking, and they claim that they just got a report from someone else that there has been a car accident. They figure out that McComsky is actually the driver of the car that he claims is stolen, so he can get away with not being charged with the crime of having an actual car wreck. There's just one major problem. If you're going to get into a car wreck and then call the police to get yourself out of the car wreck, you're telling the police where you are when you're out on bail. He was already a criminal and he was out on bail, but now he was on the run for a previous crime, and they decided, you know what? We're going to hold you without bail this time. Have a nice day, Sean.
Hey everyone, this is your fantasy guru Rich from Murray Electric. Just want to talk about Bell's for a minute and how every time I go there, I order a plate of food. It's a great plate of food every time, no matter what I order.
Hi, I'm General Kyle. I can't tell you all the great things on this menu, but I know I love the Nashville hot chicken sandwich.
This is Discord Brian, and one thing I love about Bell's is the salmon. It's some of the best in the valley.
Bell's Nashville Kitchen on Main Street in Old Town Scottsdale.
You found home, down home.
Hey, Unplugged Army, this is Dom with Slice House by Tony Gemignani. Here at Slice House, not only do we offer pizza by the slice, but we also offer catering packages for any of your parties, lunch events. My biggest passion is that there's something for everyone. Whether you're the biggest pizza fanatic or you don't even like pizza at all, we have something for everyone. Whether it's pizza, pastas, wings, meatballs, salads, or garlic bread, we've got something that you'll love.
Slice House is in Gilbert at Pecos and Val Vista, near Santan Ford. Hey, respect the craft.
So my first drive into the desert, but I pull off a bogey with a tree in the way, so I'm pretty happy. The second hole, I par the par 5, so I'm feeling really good. And then I only get one more par the rest of the round. What? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever it is that you've decided to make Doug Franz Unplugged a part of your day, my family greatly appreciates it. My name is Doug Franz, and you have found the only podcast in the world totally devoted to the coverage of the 4 major sports franchises. Yes, the Coyotes still count. That drops on your phone each and every weekday morning. Wait a minute. Oh, the 4 major sports franchises. Wait, oh no. Can I just do that again? Oh no. That covers the 4 major sports franchises of one great American city that drops on your phone each and every weekday morning. I knew I had forgotten something. Rattlers Rising Merc. This is Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. How are you? I'm in a wonderful mood because I slept like a normal human. Just completely slept today. I am still having a little bit of a problem. That's why you're getting a vacation show today. Still having a little bit of an issue adjusting to the body clock, and then the body even adjusting, to be honest. It's, I don't know if I'm just getting old. I don't want to admit that to you because I want to keep having a younger and younger audience, but I want you to stay as part of the audience. But what was it? It was Sunday that I drove 6 hours and 3 hours to Cincinnati and then back up to Jennifer's hometown. So that was 3 hours each way. And then it was an hour and a half to 2 hour drive to Columbus and a 4 hour flight back here to Phoenix. So my Sunday and Monday was a little wrecked, and then slept for about 3 hours yesterday, and then drove from Goodyear to Whirlwind, played golf with a college buddy, and then went to 100 Mile Brew. So I had a great day. But boy, having those three events happen, bang, 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 the body has not readjusted yet, but I had a lot of fun. So hopefully the college buddy, I have him convinced, since he's in television broadcasting somewhat, I hope I have him convinced to help me put the finishing touches on moving into video. So I'm excited about that. But I golfed terribly yesterday. I put up a 9 on one hole and had 3 double bogeys and only 2 pars on the round. So no birdies. So that was rough to swallow. That was really, really rough. But had a wonderful time with him, and then went to 100 Mile Brew. And then as I'm leaving 100 Mile Brew after a great dinner, I see Colonel Kells is there, a member of the Unplugged Army. So that was awesome. So I was leaving, saw him, and turned right back around and went back inside. So really appreciated that conversation. Great member of the Unplugged Army. And then came home, immediately sat down, watched the Diamondbacks game off of the DVR. Really excited about the way they're playing. And then it's like, I was just done. I was just absolutely done. It was midnight at the time. So I slept it was actually 11 o'clock at night when I got done with the Diamondbacks. And I slept from 11 o'clock until 4 this morning. That's a lot for me. So I'm pretty wired right now, but also, having that weird issue of, boy, if you put a pillow in front of me, I would lay right back down. But I wanted to give you a show today, and then we'll still have Bobby Mack, as far as I know. We'll have Bobby Mack on tomorrow's show, and hopefully I'll be, a little more refreshed because I have nothing to get up for today. So I should be able to sleep in and then be ready to go to finish the week a little bit more strongly than what I started it. And no more vacation shows until the end of June. And then once we get to the end of the month, I'll have some vacation shows again, and I'll kind of go over why that is coming up then. But good to see you. Thanks for bringing me into your world today. Last thing, just want to remind you, if you are any kind of golfer whatsoever, like even if you only occasionally play, think strongly about becoming a Whirlwind Plus member. It is just so easy to get there, and the place is just so wonderful. I walked in yesterday. Everybody's like, hey, Doug, good to see you. Glad that you're here. And the way they treat you when you walk in. And then I hadn't eaten anything yesterday, so I went over to Civlik and said, hey, what can I do? And they said, we can turn a ham sandwich into a wrap. I said, great, let's do that. It was great. I mean, it was a great wrap, easy to eat on the course. Everybody was just so comfortable. Hey, I'm running over to the driving range. Okay, even though your tee time's not for another 20 minutes, you can just drive right on if you want, whenever you're ready. Just make sure you're out there before this time. And they gave me a time that was like 8 minutes after my time, saying there's nobody right after you either. So feel free to get on between now and this. Oh, that's easy. Okay, great. And then we didn't run into anybody until we got to about the 15th hole. So this is a premier golf course in the Valley. It's in wonderful shape, and it was only $79 right now. And if I would have waited another 25 minutes to an hour, I forget when it changes, it dropped to $69. Now, if you're a Whirlwind Plus member, you can play in the morning when it's $129 and only pay the $69 price. You pay the lowest rate of the day. So you pay the afternoon hot rate, meaning when it's hot outside, even though you're playing in the morning. That's just one of the benefits of Whirlwind Plus. Many others, and General Mike of the Unplugged Army just swears up and down every time about how he's blown away, how worth it is, because the value you get is well more than the $300 you pay. That's Whirlwind Plus. And after playing there yesterday, I just wanted to remind you what they mean to the Unplugged Army and how anything you have enjoyed about the last 5 years A lot of it has to do with the three main sponsors getting us going, or three originals getting us going, which was Bell's, Parker & Sons, and Burrito Express. Then Whirlwind Golf Club making us a lot more stable. And then, of course, Santan Ford, 202, and Val Vista. I haven't gone through a lot of the sponsors early in the show before, but it was such a special day yesterday to be at two of the sponsors in one day, at 100 Mile Brew and Whirlwind Golf Club. Just had a wonderful time. All right, if you're ready, time for Doug's Big One. It's my number one opinion of the day, and it's been Biggie-sized by your local Wendy's. You can go with a Biggie Bite, Biggie Bag, or Biggie Bundle. Only $4 gets you the Biggie Bite. You choose crispy chicken or junior bacon cheeseburger, and then you choose whether you want a 4-piece nugget, you want fries, or you want a drink. That's $4. Tons of food at Wendy's. Doug.
Where's Doug? Here, sorry, Doug. Where are you at?
Yeah, was that a plug to unplug?
Thanks, Doug.
Doug had given me a stat.
With that, I am happy to take your questions. Let's start with Doug.
This is a great question, Doug.
Well, I can only answer the questions that get asked of me, Doug.
Obviously, Franz is such a good player.
Doug's Big One. I rarely say positive things about the NCAA. And even more so, I don't remember the last time I said something positive about the NCAA when they're, in a sense, gearing up for a legal battle against someone. So here is my kind of friend of the court brief on Doug's Big One. And that is the situation that happened yesterday when the NCAA denied the request for NCAA eligibility for the year for Brendan Sorsby. If you don't know the story of Sorsby, he's an Indiana quarterback, and in his freshman year, he's a walk-on, and he gambles on Indiana football games. I'll give you facts first and then tell you how I feel. He only gambles on them to win games and doesn't gamble on every game, and never gambled on a game that he actually played in. Then transfers from Indiana to UC, does very well at Cincinnati, has an idea of potentially leaving, chooses to stay, gets a really nice NIL deal. Then there's an argument between him and Cincinnati because he decides he wants to leave Cincinnati and go to Texas Tech. Cincinnati claims that you have not fulfilled all the particulars of the contract, and therefore they're suing him for $1 million to get their NIL money back. He says he's already served everything that he was supposed to at Cincinnati and doesn't owe the money. He transfers to Texas Tech, gets a huge payday at Texas Tech, and is expected to be the 2026 starting quarterback. He has not played for Texas Tech yet. He played last year at UC. Since then, the NCAA started an investigation into his gambling while he was at Indiana. I have zero idea about his intent, but as the investigation got to a point where it was clear he was either going to be suspended or secretly had already been suspended, he then checks himself into a gambling addiction rehab location that I didn't realize until recently was in Goodyear, Arizona, or is in Goodyear, Arizona. So in his mind, here he is, a troubled young man trying to find help, and the NCAA is picking on him and taking away his eligibility for the year. From the NCAA standpoint, no, we're not doing anything negative to you. You broke the rules of football. It's something you have to deal with, and we have nothing to do with when you've asked to check into rehab. And they didn't say this, but now this is where I move into my opinion. It's really fishy that when you find out they're investigating, now you feel like you have a problem and you need to go get help for your gambling addiction. Now, my feeling on this is I completely support the NCAA. I don't understand why this is mutually exclusive. Why the NCAA, in the mind of Brendan Sorsby, who's filed a lawsuit against the NCAA, Why can the NCAA not support you, not help you, and suspend you? I think they can do everything. What Sorsby's camp is trying to argue, because the NCAA makes money off of gambling websites and accepts advertising dollars from gambling websites, it's highly hypocritical for them to, in turn, suspend a player for doing something that's legal and for them to have zero policy of a player returning once they've checked out of rehab. To me, the entire integrity of the sport is gone once a player is gambling on the result of the game. Now, we can somewhat argue, and I will accept some gray area if you want to say he's allowed to gamble on a different team, let's say. But the one problem there is, what is the inside information? Like in today's day and age of the transfer portal, what if he transfers from Cincinnati to Texas Tech and has a whole bunch of buddies still on Cincinnati? And he's finding out incredible amounts of information from his friends and then gambling on that information. That's illegal in the world of gambling. So where's the line? For me, the line should be you cannot gamble on the sport. But let's debate it. It unequivocally has to be on you can't gamble on your team. I think it's totally irrelevant that he always bet on them to win, and I think it's totally irrelevant sometimes he didn't bet on them and sometimes he did. You cannot in any way do that. And here's why. Here's how that can still affect the game. Let's say you're a quarterback and you bet on the game. And now it's a 3rd down and 7, and you were specifically told by your coach, hey, we don't have a great backup quarterback. We want you to slide. We do not want you to take a hit. Don't go or hurry up and go out of bounds. And therefore, in the 4th quarter of a game, he decides to disobey the coach, and he's going to dive for the 1st down. And now he gets hurt and he's out for the year. But that 1st down to him was more important than maybe next week when he doesn't do that. Now that he didn't gamble on the game, he just steps out of bounds. He's playing differently. Hey, we've got to win because I have X amount of dollars on this game. I've got to try to fit this ball into this window, even though it's not a great decision. I'm not just going to punt. Things like that. It affects what you do on the field. And you might say, Doug, he's trying to win. Okay, but does he always make those same decisions, whether he's bet on the game or not? You will change how you play when you have money riding on the outcome. And that can't be allowed. We can argue whether it's hypocritical of the NCAA to accept gambling money. I think that's an interesting discussion, and I will blast the NCAA for that. But that still doesn't change that kids cannot gamble on a sport that they are playing in. Under no circumstances can you do that. And I really hope the NCAA fights this like crazy, and I hope they win in a court of law. The one interesting aspect of this where I wonder whether or not this is going to succeed. When you talk about, I know baseball very well. So in Major League Baseball, the rule is simple. If you bet on a game, if you bet on a different team, you're suspended for a year. If you bet on your team, you're suspended for life. Always been the rule. But it's also written in every contract. It's also written into the collective bargaining agreement. So you have a labor union that has agreed to that rule for all of its workers, for all of its members. There is no labor union among college athletes. So there's never been a time that Brendan Sorsby has been represented and then committed himself to that rule. Now, I'm very positive, but I can't guarantee this, but I'm very positive that every athlete signing their scholarship it has gambling language in the scholarship. So they have made an individual signed agreement, but it's not like there's a representation of all athletes from a labor union, and the union has agreed to that as well. There could be a legal argument trying to somehow overturn this decision from the NCAA. But I think this is a crock. And if Brendan Sorsby really wants so bad for all of us to feel terrible for his gambling addiction, well then how about you come to an agreement? How about you say, okay, in exchange, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit out 2 years. I gambled on Indiana football for 1 year. Or if he gambled on Indiana football for 2 years, it's 1 year plus, it's 1 year for each year you gambled plus one. So let's say he gambled at Indiana for 2 years. Now you got to sit out 3 years and then you can play again. Now, I know on the surface that sounds ridiculous because he's a college kid, but that's the point. Because he's about ready to lose millions of dollars at Texas Tech, and because he wants to find out, should I enter the NFL draft now? There's a thing called the supplemental draft, where if you miss the window to be in the regular draft, there's a second draft. And the way that draft works in the NFL, it goes by the exact same draft order. So the Raiders get the first pick in the supplemental draft, but what's strange is you ask, do you want to make a pick? And if they say yes, they're sacrificing a 2027 first round pick. If they say no, it just goes to the next team. New York Jets, are you interested? No. Arizona Cardinals, are you interested? They might say yes. Now, I don't think anybody's going to draft Sorsby with a first round pick, but after they go through all 32 teams, they go back to the Raiders and say, second round, supplemental draft. Do you want to draft anybody? No. And it goes all the way through. So let's say all of a sudden they get to the fifth round, sixth round. The Arizona Cardinals might say, yes, we'll take him. And now immediately Sorsby is on the Cardinals roster, but then the Cardinals don't get a sixth round pick in 2027. That's how the supplemental draft works. And they would have the supplemental draft if Brendan Sorsby signs up for it. And that's what he wants to know. I need to get into the supplemental draft right now if I'm not allowed to play at Texas Tech. And that's why he's pushing the envelope. I am not only totally in favor of the NCAA, but I just feel like it's a legal crock that the Sorsby camp is all running to try to get sympathy votes from us for his gambling addiction. But it's not like he turned himself in 2 years ago. It's not like he tried to fight against his addictions a long time ago. He fought against his addictions the split second he realized, I'm not going to be eligible anymore to play college football. So now I want help. Oh, okay. Now, I need to give him a little room. Maybe this was the thing that kicked him in the butt and made him realize, oh my gosh, I've just thrown away a year of my college life. That's the wake-up call that I needed. Well, then say that. And that's not what was said. And that's why I am clearly on the side of the NCAA. And that's Doug's big one. You know, you can go to santanford.com and just look at the top, and they have the number for the service department, phone number right there. And they have a link right there to the mobile service unit. So you decide, you want to call or you just want to take care of everything online. Oil changes, simple maintenance, tire rotations. I had all kinds of things done, and I've done it now 3 times with the mobile unit on my car. All makes and models as well. And it was just so well done and so easy. Why? Because it's on my time. You get it done as long as you're within 25 miles of the dealership. So I was at 100 Mile Brew one time. I was at Slice House one time, and I've been at Trophy one time. 3 sponsors, 3 members, 3 places where the Unplugged Army is welcome. And while I'm meeting with a client or meeting with a friend or one time eating lunch with my nephew, both he and me were having our oil changed. So easy. I mean, so easy. So you can't let this go in one ear and out the other. Every time you look up in the upper left corner of your windshield and you know you've got an oil change coming, then you need to think of Santan Ford. 202 in Val Vista. I am Santan Ford. I don't have any big college football thing to go out of Doug's big one from, so we'll stay on football. Let's talk a little Cardinals, and then we'll have a long D-back segment coming up. 3 pieces of Cardinals news that you need to know about. Josh Weinfuss has updated us on the latest as it relates to Jacoby Brissett. Right now, Jacoby Brissett, Josh Weinfuss, if you didn't know, he's the ESPN.com reporter that covers the Arizona Cardinals. Jacoby Brissett still absent from all OTAs so far. And clearly, Josh has done a good job. And again, I don't know this, but it's easy to kind of guess. He has done a good job getting information from the Jacoby Brissett side of the disagreement. And the reason why you know that is because the points that he is making that are factual but important. It says here, and I'm getting this straight from Josh, not meaning that he texted me, meaning reading his report that you can read too. Jacoby Brissett has been told that he is the starting quarterback for 2026. He's due $4.9 million in salary plus a $510,000 per game roster bonus. The catch is only $1.5 million is guaranteed. There are no starting quarterbacks, people that are expected to start in the NFL, that make less than $22 million a year unless they're on a rookie contract. So since Brissett is not on a rookie contract, he is not even remotely close. He is far and away the lowest paid starting quarterback in the NFL. And his side wants that changed. Okay, great. The Cardinals obviously look at Jacoby Brissett and say, we want you to be the starter, but let's not act like we won a whole bunch of games when we went to you last year. And let's not act like truly you have a ton of leverage, because it's not like other teams are fighting to get you to be their starting quarterback. There's only one team in the NFL offering you a starting quarterback job. This story dragging on is so tiring. And I don't want to go crazy because I don't want to drive you nuts, because, let's face it, I've talked about this before, and it's like, I can understand if you say, Doug, freshen this up. Don't bring it up. I know how you feel. At the same time, if you and I walk into a bar and we're talking about sports, at one point as we're sitting there at Bell's with a beer in our hand, am I not going to say, or are you not going to say, how about this Jacoby Brissett? What is going on? And every day that goes by is another day where he is not leading. And the reason why I so strongly blame both sides is Jacoby, nobody else wants you as their starting quarterback. You've had over 10 years in this league, very few starts. So drop the ego. And this team expects you to be there to work, and a true leader goes into work. Millionaires go to work. Number 2, Arizona Cardinals. Did you or did you not tell him he's the starting quarterback? And if the starting quarterback that's not on a rookie contract makes $22 million a year, yes, he should be one of the lowest paid ones. But there's a massive difference between $4.9 million and $22 million. Massive difference. What have you done to close that gap? Have you offered him 15? Have you offered him 18? I mean, if they average 22, or excuse me, if that's already the bottom at 22, at least get up to 21. At least get up to 20 and get it done. Quit being the cheapest organization in football. Show fans you actually care about winning. And if you care about winning, then you need to get your starting quarterback into camp, into OTAs. I keep calling it camp, but get him into OTAs. Show players on the team that you want to win. You don't have to have petty little games every time with every player. At one point, break the nonsense. Start running this franchise like a real life galvanized NFL football team that wants to win. When does the failure end, Mr. Bidwell? When does it end? When do you decide I am tired of losing? The fans would like to know that. Both sides are doing a terrible thing, and they both look ridiculous. That is not Doug's big one, but that's still a rant that's in there anytime that you want it. Another interesting story coming from Jordan Schultz, who's a longtime NFL reporter. He says a lot of teams are calling about Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat was okay with the Eagles until Jonathan Gannon became the defensive coordinator. Then he was fantastic with the Eagles. Jonathan Gannon left the Eagles, became the head coach of the Cardinals, and Sweat had a couple okay years with the Philadelphia Eagles. Signs a free agent contract with the Cardinals, and even though the Cardinals were terrible, he was fantastic last year. So the thought process is, according to Jordan Schultz, that everybody guesses that he would really like to go play for the Packers where Jonathan Gannon is, but secondly, he does not want to play for the Cardinals. I don't buy that. I understand why people would call. Why not? But I'm not going to buy that he's grumpy, and here's why. They kept the same defensive coordinator. So with Nick Rowles already there running the same system, why would Josh Sweat feel like I'm not going to get any more than I already have? I think that's a no-brainer that says he's going to be happy. Now, of course, he would accept a trade to the Packers to play directly for Jonathan Gannon, but I don't buy that Josh Sweat necessarily is demanding to be traded. From a Cardinal point of view, I think they should always look at trading anybody. What are you willing to give? But considering the premium that is on pass rushers, it's got to be more than a first-round pick. Has to be. I would accept maybe a first-round pick and then a second pick being something that's conditional. So we trade you Josh Sweat. We get your first-round pick this year. And if you go to the Super Bowl, we get your first round pick in 2028 as well. You go to the playoffs, we get your third round pick. You win 10 games, we get a fourth round pick. So a first and a fourth. Something like that, where you are setting conditions on it based on the success that you get in the trade. And I think that's a great way to go. And then I would be interested in that, because I don't mind trading away your successful pieces in order to get draft picks, because I think this team is so bad. If you disagree with me and you think, Doug, I think they're going to surprise now that the Kyler drama is over, and maybe you really like LaFleur and you think they're going to be okay, then I wouldn't trade Josh Sweat. And I'm saying that more along the lines of, you're not changing my mind that this is going to be a bad team. I still believe that. But that is why I'm in favor of trading Josh Sweat for a high price. If you disagree with me and say, no, that I think they're going to be okay, well, then you should also disagree with me, in my opinion, on Josh Sweat. And the last thing you should know about this is just kind of more house cleaning, because it doesn't directly affect the Cardinals, but it's there. Brian Flores filed a lawsuit charging the NFL with discrimination 4 years ago. The NFL fought back, saying all contracts need to go to arbitration. So therefore, that you can't sue us because your contract specifically says this should go to arbitration. In a court that was hearing the NFL's argument, they kind of split their decision. They agreed with the NFL that any issues Brian Flores has with the Miami Dolphins, who he was under contract with, needs to be settled in arbitration. However, the issues he has with the NFL's discriminatory practices, in his mind, and the way he was treated by 3 other teams, that does not have to go to arbitration, because he's not an employee of those 3 other teams. In that sense, he's not an employee of the league. He's an assistant coach, but he's suing on the grounds of, you treated me this way in trying to become a head coach. Therefore, that's not something that has to go to arbitration. That can be handled in a court of law. Well, that argument has taken 4 years and finally got to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled nothing. And when the court doesn't even take up the case, that means your appeal has been denied. So the NFL has been proven wrong in several courts of law, and now this case will officially go to trial. Brian Flores has added a complaint alleging that now the league is retaliating against him because he's clearly one of the best defensive coordinators in football. Had a year with the Steelers about 3 years ago, I think it was, maybe 4 years ago. And the last 2 or 3 years, he's been the defensive coordinator with the Vikings. Since he's done a very good job, the question is, why is he not getting a lot of head coaching interviews? Which clearly it's like the teams have decided, okay, since you are suing us, we don't want to hire you as a head coach, which would be retaliation, not discrimination, but retaliation. And that can go a long way in being ruled, having a ruling against the NFL could actually happen. The reason why any of this applies to the Cardinals is involved in that lawsuit is Steve Wilks. Now, Steve Wilks is only suing the Arizona Cardinals for having a 1 year trial, in a sense, as the Arizona Cardinals head coach. And when you have a general manager that's arrested on a DUI and he is suspended by the team, and then the team turns around and we find out in a Terry McDonough arbitration case that the team was secretly communicating with the general manager despite the fact that they were forbidden to do that. So as they broke the NFL rules while they were doing that, Steve Wilks says, I don't want to participate in that. And Terry McDonough said, I don't want to participate in that. Terry McDonough gets severely sanctioned by the team and ends up losing his job at some point. The team claims him losing his job had nothing to do with the burner phone scandal, but an arbitrator ruled against the Cardinals, and Michael Bidwill became the only owner in the NFL to lose an arbitration case in the rigged court of the NFL to a former employee. It's shocking, the arrogance of Michael Bidwill in that case, thinking that he had done nothing wrong or not caring if he did anything wrong. So Steve Wilks is suing, saying, look how bad Cliff Kingsbury was, and he got 4 years. Here I am only getting a year with a much tougher situation and not being given the benefit of the doubt at all. The catch is Steve Wilks was an employee of the Cardinals and his beef is with the Cardinals. That goes to the lower court ruling that says, Steve, if you have a beef with other teams that weren't your employer, that lawsuit can be filed in a court of law. However, you need to have your hearing in front of an arbitrator since your issue is just with the Cardinals, and that's where you were under contract. So as this Brian Flores case now goes to an actual court of him versus the NFL, you wait to see what happens there because that result could either affect the arbitration between Steve Wilks and the Cardinals, or even more painful to the Cardinals, it could bring arbitration out of the picture and into a court of law if something happens in the Brian Flores trial, which shows the NFL shouldn't be allowed to force Steve Wilks into arbitration. So that's where we are. Not really huge news yet for the Cardinals, but we'll keep waiting and keep looking to see if it's about to happen, and I'll keep you updated on that. Okay, coming up next. Not really a deep dive, but a lot of Diamondbacks talk because this team is fire. How long will it last? That's next. This is Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. Going to be hard to keep up with this list, but from Parker & Sons Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical, we have a reverse osmosis system, a tankless water heater, and 2 air scrubbers that actually remove pollens and germs from the air that we breathe in our home. So what does Parker & Sons do? They only handle the air that we breathe and the water that we drink, and they do a great job. Call 602-2-REPAIR. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons.
It's big, it's juicy, it's meaty. Get your burrito at Burrito Express. If you're having a hangover, a bad day, even a good day, still get your burrito at Burrito Express. It will make you feel better.
Come check us out at Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp. We're on Estrella Parkway, just south of the 10. My name is Aaron. I also go by AG Kleino on Twitter. I've been in the Unplugged Army since the dark days. And my message to the listeners would just be, as far as Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp is concerned, is it's not selfish to care for yourself. At Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp, we strive to inspire fitness and change lives every day.
Diamondbacks a winner again. Defeated the Giants yesterday 7-5. Most of their damage came in the second inning with an RBI double, an RBI ground out, a sac fly, and a home run. And then after that, Diamondbacks did a good job of continually scoring, in which they got another run in the 6th, another run, 2 runs in the 7th, and another run in the 8th, because the bullpen, for once, didn't do a great job. Ginkel, Murillo, and Sewald all came in, all gave up a run in their 1 inning of work. Really concerned me with Murillo because he did so well in March and April and maybe the first 2 weeks of May, and then I don't know if he's gassed. I don't know if he's tipping pitches. I don't know what's going on. But Murillo is allowing almost a run an inning right now in his last few outings. So that obviously has to stop, because if he continues to struggle, he's going to be moved out of the high leverage situations. And with him doing a good job, that puts everybody in the position they should be. When I say the position they should be, you know, maybe you're a 7th inning guy. Maybe you're a closer. Maybe you're a situational lefty. Whatever you are, you have your role in that bullpen. And when one guy starts screwing up, sometimes you promote somebody that's not ready to be promoted. Or sometimes you have to overuse somebody that is good enough in that spot when ready, but now you're using him when he's not necessarily ready because he pitched, you know, the last 2 days in a row, and you're trying to stretch him out to have him go 3 days in a row. Things like that. So Murillo has to step it up. Ketel Marte only went 1 for 5 yesterday. Obviously not very good. But that one was crazy. He hit a 452-foot homer to left field that was 114 miles an hour off the bat. It is the longest home run I have ever seen to left field in that ballpark. Now, I've been to that ballpark on 2 occasions. Love it. Gorgeous. But I just mean all the games I've seen on TV from San Francisco. I don't really know how long it is when they put the hit homers to right field into McCovey Cove. But to left field, it finished in about the second row from the concourse. Now, that concourse, there is a huge Coca-Cola bottle structure that has a children's slide on the inside. And then that huge piece of artwork that's a baseball glove. And that's well back. I mean, that concourse is huge back there. There's a lot of room. But he almost hit the ball over the last 2 rows. If he would have done it over the last 2 rows and on that concourse, I got to ask, how many players have ever put a ball on that concourse? Because Marte almost did it and just crushed it. I loved what I saw in a lot of different aspects of yesterday's game. Ildemaro Vargas had 2 RBIs that were from a ground out. Now, may not sound like a big deal, but it just shows, hey, you're putting the ball in play. Runners on second and third, he grounds out to the second baseman, puts the ball in play, and gets a run. And another time, he hit into a fielder's choice in which the Giants tried to turn a double play. He legged it out, was able to beat the relay to avoid the double play, and then that scored Perdomo from third. And it would have ended the inning if he didn't get there, because there were one out. I think I said. There was one out, so a double play ball makes 3, the run doesn't count. He legs it out. Now it's just a ground out. So that always feels like some kind of free 2-out run when you're able to do that. So then you pile on the Ketel Marte 2-run homer in the 7th. Then you actually do get a double from Vargas, which is the base hit. And this is one time he doesn't ground out, and he ends up scoring a run because Gabby came up and had the RBI single. There's your 7 runs. Bullpen somewhat barely holds on, and now you're still rolling. So they lose a huge chunk of games just a little while ago, 7 of 8. The 7th of those 8 games was game 1 on May 8th in New York, or at home against the Mets. Since that time, the Diamondbacks are 13-4, but they've barely picked up any ground on the Dodgers because the Dodgers have been winning. Like, for an example, in the last 10 games, Diamondbacks are 9-1. Sounds great, but they only picked up a game because the Dodgers are 8-2. Go for the sweep today against the Giants. Then they have off Thursday, rest the bullpen, go up to Seattle. The Mariners are only a half game out of first place, so that makes you feel like they're a good team. The catch is the AL West is so bad that the Mariners are 2 games below 500 and yet only a half game behind the A's for first place. Everybody in the American League West is below 500. All 5 teams. The A's are in first place at 27-28. So on the one hand, that sounds like it should be easy to win the series against Seattle. However, you are going up against Wu on Saturday, and Wu is a great home field pitcher. I mean, great. When he's pitching at home, he's really hard to beat. So you play him Saturday. I'm not going to say that's a loss. I'm just going to say that's going to be a really hard game to win. So you either need to win Friday, Sunday, or do the hard thing and win Saturday if you're going to take that series. Then it gets real. Starting on Monday, June 1st, 4 games at home against the Dodgers, then 3 games at home against Washington. Washington sounds like a terrible team, right? Well, they're the opposite of Seattle. They're 2 games above 500 and playing pretty decent baseball. Not great, but pretty decent baseball. And really about the same level as the Diamondbacks before this hot streak for the D-backs. Then you're at Miami, not good, not a good team, but not terrible. And then you're at Cincinnati. And the Reds are also right in the middle of the playoff hunt. They are 4 games above 500. And the Diamondbacks are only a game ahead of Cincinnati right now. So this is a stretch where we really find out, okay, who are you guys? Because the Diamondbacks had 3 at Colorado, 3 home against San Francisco, 4 home against the Rockies, and now 3 at San Francisco. So with you having this very odd schedule in which you've got 13 games against 2 of the worst teams in the National League, give the Diamondbacks their credit. They're beating up bad teams, doing exactly what a good team should do. But at the same time, when you're playing the Rockies and Giants, that means somebody else isn't. And when they get their turn at those guys, maybe they're going to do exactly the same thing you're doing while you're having harder competition. So we're going to learn a ton about this team between basically this Friday and 2 Sundays from now on June 14th, where we'll really say, okay, now where are you? And if they can keep a nice run going, it's really time to jump on board. I mean, and when I say that, I never want you to leave this thing. You know what I mean? I never want your fandom to drop at all. I would love to see you stand every time the bases are loaded, get behind your team, always be invested. But when I say something like, okay, now, it's time to believe, I'm saying that more from a logical standpoint. The best fans are illogical. So as a fan, I want to tell you, I love my team. Let's win all the time. Let's cheer like crazy. But when I'm talking to you as a talk show host, I want to talk about the logic of what are we seeing on the field and how will that translate? And I can tell you this should translate very well. That if they can get through this stretch, we now know that we've got something pretty special. And it's awesome that the starting pitching has been doing so well. So hopefully the bullpen will be very well rested going into that enormous Dodgers series to where they can do something. Because right now in the National League, if you haven't looked, I realize wild card standings on May 27th isn't the greatest thing that I've ever told you about, but it is fascinating to see how packed in it is. San Diego, a game and a half up on the wild card standings. So when I say up, 3 teams make it in the National League as a wild card team. So just to get into the playoffs, you want to be one of the top 3. Well, the Cardinals are the bottom of the top 3. San Diego, a game and a half up on the Cardinals. Arizona, a half game up on the Cardinals. So that kind of gives you the range of those are your 3 teams. Then the Reds are a half game back of the Cardinals. Pirates and Cubs are tied a game back of the Cardinals. Then it's Washington, a game and a half back of the Cardinals, who the Diamondbacks will play next weekend at home. And then the Phillies are 2 games back of the Cardinals. So I just gave you, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams that are within 3.5 games of each other. 8 teams for 3 spots, all within 3.5 games. So even though the Diamondbacks are incredibly hot, all they have done is put themselves back in a conversation that they walked out of. They played so bad at the beginning of May, they walked away from the wild card. Now they put themselves back in it. But I think this is going to be a dogfight for a long time. And now, following this series at Seattle, which again, Seattle's not good, but it's never easy to win in Seattle, especially with Wu pitching. You've got 4 games against the Dodgers, who are in first place in the division, 4.5 games ahead of the Diamondbacks. You've got 3 games at home against Washington, who are only a game and a half out of the playoffs and only 2 games behind you. So they certainly want to sweep and take your playoff spot. Then you're at Miami, who's pretty distant from the race, but not awful. And then the Reds, who are only a game behind you. That's a packed standings column. And this is an area where you can, for the first time, really create separation directly against teams that you're either chasing or who are chasing you. There's my big D-backs ramble. Hopefully you feel a lot more informed just about how well the Diamondbacks are doing. One thing about last night's game, which I want to admit I did not know, and it, just to be blunt, it bothers me about what happened, that I didn't understand this, and I've got some more learning to do about the challenge rule. So there was a double in the top of the second inning hit by Ryan Waldschmidt. It scored a double. So Waldschmidt hits one into the gap. It rolls to the wall and stops cold by getting pinched a tiny bit between the mat of the wall, the mat meaning to protect the outfielders, the padding of the wall, and the warning track itself. So Waldschmidt gets a triple, and on that triple, he knocks in Nolan Arenado from first. Well, going out to get this ball, Bader put one hand up in the air for a brief second, then reached, pulled the ball out easily, threw it back in. And that's where you get the triple. Giants challenge the play, saying the ball was wedged, and then the call gets overturned, and it's ruled a double, and Nolan Arenado has to return to third base. That is not how the rule has been taught to me for 400 years. But I don't know anything about the challenge part of it, so that's what I'm admitting that I have to learn. The way the rule was explained to me, and the way I was always taught as a player, if the ball is wedged in the fence, you put your hands up in the air to signal to the umpire the play is dead, ground rule double. It's kind of honor system, kind of not. And the reason why I say it's kind of honor system, the umpire can rule you're full of crap and keep the play going. But they will then run out there, and this happens a lot in Chicago, where the ball is in the ivy somewhere and it's stuck in the ivy, you put your hands up, boom, ground rule double. But if you reach in there to the ivy, searching for it, you don't get to rule it unplayable because you're trying to find it. And if the ball drops out, it's now live in a sense. Honestly, I shouldn't say it's now live. It never stopped being live. It was never dead. But if you put your hands up, it's now dead. Well, Bader barely put a hand up, but then more importantly to me, reached and easily removed the ball. So even though, yes, it's arguably wedged because it didn't come to rest on its own natural movement, that it came to rest because the padding of the wall wedged it into the ground, the ball is still live because the player made it still live. He reached in, got the ball, threw it back, and didn't truly put his hands up and say the ball got wedged, play's over. So I now have learned, I shouldn't say I looked it up or talked to anybody. I've just learned it because of the result of the play, that you don't have to put your hands up anymore. You can go after it, and then they can go back to video and challenge it, which really bothers me that that's acceptable. Here's why. If the Giants are out of challenges, then what happens? So they've lost the right to argue it's wedged? Does an outfielder actually have to remember, hey, we're out of challenges, so stop, put your hands up, and get the play ruled as a dead ball, ground rule double? Or, hey, we've got challenges, run back there with your hands up and play the ball in case we get an out, and then we'll go back and challenge it and try to get people to return and go back a base. That seems pretty convoluted. I don't like one set of rules if you have challenges and one set of rules if you don't. It should be, here's the rule of the game. So I wanted to give you that because that's going to be my homework assignment, that the next time I'm at a Diamondbacks game, I'll try to walk away with Torrey and get clarification, because I think that's a terribly flawed rule. Okay, now, done with D-backs. Let's give you versus Vegas, because I'm hot. I'm as hot as the D-backs. Next, on Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass.
Here is Sue Rigler on starting 100 Mile Brewing Company.
The name 100 Mile Brewing Company, it's where you keep your beer freshest from production. So we have a 10-barrel brewing system, and I don't want the beer to travel any more than a radius of 100 miles outside of where we produce it here in Tempe, Arizona. And I'm also a runner. I've been running 45 years, so 100 miles has a play on that as well. The food, we have a full restaurant. It's elevated food for a brewery, and a local media has named us as the top 10 restaurants, places to eat in Tempe, Arizona. I've heard more than once from people that they say they dream about our burgers. So that's kind of I wouldn't dream about a burger, but okay. So if you were in the Unplugged Army, we need to be friends. There's thousands and thousands of you that I cannot wait to meet. So this is your spot. Doug's favorite beer, he likes a lot of them, but the favorite one is the A Mountain Amber Ale. So why don't you all come in? I invite you in. Ask for Sue, ask for Todd, and we'll take really good care of you.
Hi, I'm Angie with Penny Royal Promotions. We decorate blank apparel, screen printing, embroidery, direct to film. Also, we provide promotional products, offset printing, tents, canopies, banners, business cards, anything you can put a logo on. Okay, Unplugged Army, if you own a business, you have an upcoming event, a charity function, golf tournament, we're the official provider of the Unplugged Army. Ask for Angie. I'm this year's Euchre champion.
It's time for versus Bagel. Oh, we were 3-0, and then we went 3-0, and now we went 4-0. Thank you. Here we go. Oh, one more. How about that? 3-0, 3-0, and now 4-0 yesterday. I think we're on a little bit of a heater. I think 10-0 isn't bad to say that's a heater. I felt like we dominated yesterday. Took the Yankees minus the 1.5. Kind of feel like we should have taken them for a little bit more. The Yankees win 15-1 in Kansas City. And granted, through most of the history of the New York Yankees, pitchers batted. But this was the first game in Yankees history where every starter had 2 hits or more. Every single starter had a multi-hit game. Now, on the one hand, that is impressive. But it sounds like, gosh, with Murderers Row, the 27 Yankees, or the I feel like at some point along the way, some Yankees team should have done that. And it's never been done in Yankees history. They win 15-1. We get that one right. We doubled up on the Diamondbacks and got them both right. Diamondbacks minus 1.5. They win 7-5 in San Francisco. And the team's total to be over 8. And we get 12 runs out of it. Diamondbacks almost get to 8 on their own. So there's 3-0. And then we took the Thunder minus the 5.5 against San Antonio, and they won 127-114. So we go 4-0 yesterday. I still haven't looked up how I did last Friday, though, so I don't know my overall record. Today, I've only got 2 games, and only one of them I really like. So here's the game I don't love, but I'm going to try out a new theory. I'm big into travel. I think travel isn't looked at enough when it comes to gambling. I think it really weighs on the players. Well, there's one series that I'm paying attention to today in which Baltimore plays Tampa Bay today at home, Toronto tomorrow at home. And it's the only game today in which a home team has a home game today and a home game tomorrow, but against different opponents. So to me, I kind of feel like, okay, Tampa Bay's ready to get moving. It's the last game for them in Baltimore. But the Orioles aren't in a rush to go anywhere. Nothing changes. It's just baseball. So I kind of like that for Baltimore. So I'm going to try out this theory on when one team is leaving and another team is staying, how that's going to work. So we'll take Baltimore on the money line against Tampa Bay. And then hockey-wise, I don't know who's going to win Carolina-Montreal. I think Carolina. But the money line juice at minus 142, that's a little steep for an I think so. So I don't want to go with an I think so, but I love the over. I think it's going to go over the 5.5 today. And I kind of feel like it'll be 3-2, and then we'll get an empty netter, make it 4-2, and we get the over. And if it does better than that, great. Of course, we want that. And make it easy and, score 2 or 3 goals in each of the first 2 periods and then be done with it. But I really like that score. I can see it being close, and then an empty netter is able to win it for us. So that's what we'll go with on that. Since I did a vacation show, no sound credits today. And that does it for today's version of Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. We will have the number 1 columnist, the premier columnist in the city of Phoenix, Arizona Republic's Bob McMahon, is expected to appear on the show tomorrow. Full show coming up tomorrow as well. Back-to-back full shows Thursday and Friday. No more vacation shows until the end of June because I'll get plenty of rest today. big thank you to Whirlwind Golf Club for how much fun I had yesterday. The presenting sponsor of Doug Franz Unplugged. Bell's Nashville Kitchen, where I haven't been to Bell's in 6 or 7 weeks, which is outrageous. So I will be at Bell's very, very soon at some point next week. If you want to get lunch with me at Bell's, that would be great. If you've never been there, come on, you're in the Unplugged Army, the original sponsor of Doug Franz Unplugged. How have you not been there? I am totally in the mood for the iceberg wedge, which you have 2, and I asked them to add, you pay for it, but who cares? You pay for the extra chicken strip dipped in or cooked as a Nashville hot chicken. Oh my gosh, it's so good. You can tell I'm struggling to talk about it because it's so good. Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista. Go to santanford.com. I am Santan Ford. Parker & Sons, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical. Call 602-2-REPAIR. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons. Getting warmer. Please don't make the mistake of calling somebody else for both of our sakes. I really think you're going to regret it if you call someone other than Parker & Sons, because either it won't quite be on time or it won't quite be right, or they won't follow up if it is incorrect. I know Parker & Sons will treat you right, and here's what's amazing. No extra fees for weekends. No extra fees for an emergency. The way they do it is fantastic. Burrito Express has locations all across the east side and coming to a Circle K near you. 100 Mile Brewing Company had a great turkey club there yesterday, and college buddy Greg got a green Hatch chili burger. Loved it, or a Hatch green chili burger. So he was really happy. I know you will be too at 100 Mile Brewing Company. Make sure you tell people that you are a friend of mine. You're in the Unplugged Army when you get there. Penny Royal Promotions, slap a logo on anything. Penny Royal Promotions has a nice website. They're going to start building my store, meaning you're going to be able to get Unplugged Army t-shirts and things like that very, very soon, and hats. This is pretty exciting stuff. And I'd love for you to wear the gear so when people ask about it, you're able to say, yeah, it's this podcast that drops on your phone and normally heavily produced, except for vacation shows, and explain it to them. Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp, inspiring fitness and changing lives every day. I will be at Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp at some point this week. I don't know if it's today, because that's based on when Bobby Mack can record, but either today or tomorrow, I will be there. And Trophy, located in Chandler, best rigatoni in the history of any sports bar. Your local Wendy's, home of the new and improved spicy chicken sandwich. And Slice House by Tony Gemignani. Finally! Ow, we nailed it today.
Doug, thank you so much. My best to your listeners, and keep up the work on Doug Franz Unplugged.